A special type of law power was flowing through the golden sandpit, while the golden light in the air was flashing incessantly while fluctuating in brightness, presenting a rather disorientating sight to behold. What was most remarkable was that in the space encompassed within the sandpit, the flow of air and the world's origin chi was clearly far faster than it was in the area outside. Due to the presence of baleful qi in his immortal acupoints, Han Li was unable to make any progress in his cultivation beyond the pinnacle of the golden immortal stage. Hence, he had spent the majority of time cultivating the water divination time arts and the illusory dawn treasured scripture. Perhaps he really did possess exceptional aptitude in the cultivation of the laws of time, but he was able to make rapid press in both cultivation arts, having already reached the 6th chapter of the water divination time arts. And he had also reached a very high level in the illusory dawn treasured scripture, allowing him to unleash the illusory dawn Xianxia ability. As he flicked a finger through the air, the golden light emanating from the clear time vial abruptly brightened, and the streaks of golden light around it began to circulate far faster than before, resonating with the illusory dawn Xianxia down below. Han Li made another hand seal to summon his mantra treasured axis, and at this point, the number of time Dao runes on its surface had increased significantly. By consistently producing more time crystals with the heavenly controlling vial, Han Li had been able to reach the current upper limit of 720 time Dao runes on his mantra treasured axis. A vast expanse of golden radiance erupted out of the mantra treasured axis to fill the entire secret chamber. The 3 bursts of golden light from the mantra treasured axis, the clear time vial, and the illusory dawn Xianxia all seemed to be resonating with one another, causing the surrounding space to tremble and buzz faintly. Han Li wasn't all that surprised to see this. Back when he first obtained the water divination time arts and the illusory dawn treasured scripture, he had already noticed that they seemed to be somehow connected to the mantra axis scripture. And his suspicions had only been confirmed through his pursuit of the 3 cultivation arts. The 3 cultivation arts were so closely intertwined with each other that it almost felt as if they had come from a single cultivation art. But Han Li was unable to conclude whether this was truly the case, as he still hadn't reached full mastery of all 3 cultivation arts. Right at this moment, Han Li closed his eyes and began to chant an incantation, upon which the 3 bursts of golden light began to flash in unison before gradually coming together as one at his behest. The 3 bursts of different time law powers were also intertwining with one another, seemingly attempting to fuse with each other, but there was some resistance that existed between them, preventing their fusion. Through his cultivation, Han Li had gained a deeper understanding of the 3 cultivation arts and the power of time laws. As one of the 3 paramount laws, the laws of time was one of the most central and fundamental laws of heaven and earth. On a small scale, it directly impacted the life cycle of a living being or the decay of an object, while on a grand scale, it could be said that time was the driving force that was pushing the entire true immortal realm along. It was as if there were a pair of invisible hands that raised up the laws of time so that it transcended above all other laws. And the reason why it was renowned as one of the paramount laws was because it was unaffected by the vast majority of other laws, but could also affect or alter some laws. For example, the most commonly seen laws of water and fire had their powers significantly diminished under the influence of the laws of time. Through the use of the mantra treasured axis, the mantra axis scripture allowed one to control the speed of the passage of time in a certain area, which was already an extraordinary ability, but that was only one of the uses of the power of time laws. In other words, the laws of time were extremely vast and profound, and the mantra axis scripture alone certainly wasn't enough to encompass it in its entirety. As for the water divination time arts and the illusory dawn treasured scripture, they were merely also alternative interpretations and uses of the power of time laws. It was a very rare feat for anyone to be able to expertly control and use any particular law power. For the average true immortal, even if they could sense the power of laws, There was no way for them to control these powers due to their limited immortal spiritual power, whereas golden immortals satisfied the minimum immortal spiritual power requirement to begin delving into the realm of law powers. The best way to improve one's mastery over a type of law power was to develop a better understanding of said law power. This was why Han Li had decided to use all three of these cultivation arts at once in order to come into contact with different types of time law powers, thereby furthering his understanding. As he continued to cycle through a string of hand seals, the three bursts of golden light in the secret chamber gradually came together to form a swirling golden vortex. All three bursts of time law powers had been incorporated into the vortex, but they were still separate entities that showed no signs of fusion. Han Li's brows furrowed slightly upon seeing this, and he began to cycle through his hand seals even faster. As a result, the golden vortex began to revolve faster while gradually shrinking in size. The three bursts of time law powers were clashing together forcefully, and countless golden runes surged out of the center of the vortex, giving off violent time law power fluctuations. However, the three bursts of time law powers still showed no signs of fusing together. Instead, it felt as if they were on the brink of exploding. Han Li hurriedly stopped what he was doing upon seeing this, and the golden vortex instantly stopped shrinking while the violent time law power fluctuations also subsided. A wry smile appeared on Han Li's face as he shook his head with a resigned expression. Over the years, he had tried many different methods to fuse the three different time law powers, but all of his attempts had concluded in futility. Was there simply no way to fuse these three time law powers, or was there something that he was missing? All of a sudden, a fierce look appeared in Han Li's eyes, and he swept a sleeve through the air, releasing a flurry of over 1,000 azure array flags, all of which vanished into different parts of the secret chamber. Azure light flashed erratically within the secret chamber to form a thick light barrier upon which countless profound runes were flashing incessantly, giving the light barrier an indestructible appearance. At the same time, he drew upon his Xuanwu bloodline, and pieces of massive azure turtle shells appeared over his body, coming together to form a suit of dark green armor that encapsulated his entire body. After that, Han Li still wasn't content, and he opened his mouth to release several defensive immortal treasures, which transformed into protective barriers of different colors around him. With all of the preparations complete, he resumed what he had been doing before, and the golden vortex began to shrink once again as the three-time law powers clashed fiercely to produce an explosive aura. Han Li gave a cold harumph upon seeing this, and instead of stopping, he pressed on even more aggressively. The golden vortex was revolving rapidly, and the golden light at its center had become unbearably bright, while countless golden runes were surging violently within it. In the next instant, a terrifying aura erupted out of the center of the vortex, and it felt as if it could explode at any moment. Han Li's eyes narrowed slightly as he redoubled his efforts, and the golden vortex shuddered violently before shrinking even further. As a result, the ball of golden runes at the center of the vortex was compressed even more aggressively, and it was truly on the verge of explosion now. However, right at this moment, the three-time law powers seemed to have been compressed beyond a certain threshold, and they suddenly became mellow and docile, succumbing to Han Li's will and fusing together. The violently churning golden runes collapsed inward, then rapidly shrank down to form a shimmering ring of golden light, which sucked in the surrounding golden vortex. All of the golden light within the entire secret chamber quickly faded, and all that remained was a tiny golden ring that was glowing radiantly while hovering in mid-air. This was a completely unexpected turn of events for Han Li, and was looking on with a combination of elation and astonishment in his eyes. However, the golden ring wasn't very stable, and it quickly began to tremble violently, while a series of cracks appeared over its surface, looking as if it could shatter any moment. An incredibly tremendous burst of time law power fluctuations swept out of the golden ring, rapidly whittling down the azure light barrier within the secret chamber on contact. Han Li's brows furrowed slightly upon seeing this. While he did have other restrictions set up in the cave abode, They most likely wouldn't be able to contain this burst of time law power fluctuations either. Right as he was to do something, a ball of green light suddenly flew out of his robes, and it was none other than his heaven-controlling vial. The vial hovered in mid-air with its opening facing the golden ring, and it was glowing as radiantly as a green sun. A burst of immense suction force surged out of the vial, sucking in the golden ring in a flash. With the golden ring gone, the burst of terrifying time law power fluctuations also faded, and the azure light barrier in the secret chamber was able to remain intact. Meanwhile, the heaven-controlling vial rapidly expanded as countless green runes emerged within it, then came together to form a churning green cloud. A burst of formidable law power fluctuations surged out of the green cloud, causing the nearby space to ripple incessantly. Right at this moment, a vertical golden eye abruptly sprang open at the centre of the mantra-treasured axis, and a translucent golden thread shot out from within before vanishing into the heaven-controlling vial in a flash. The green cloud within the vial instantly brightened before erupting forth as a thick pillar of green light. The space in the path of the pillar of green light parted as countless rays of translucent light surged out of the resulting spatial rift, forming a translucent wall of light with a series of images rapidly flashing over its surface. A hint of disappointment appeared on Hanli's face upon seeing this. He had thought that something different would be triggered out of the heaven-controlling vial, but that didn't seem to be the case. Right at this moment, two beady little black eyes suddenly appeared on the surface of the heaven-controlling vial before turning to Hanli. At the same time, a faint voice rang out in his mind, "It's about time."